Hey y'all, I'm Jerdy, and in this video, we're going to go over a very interesting Classic Plus survey that was sent out to players. Now, at first, I didn't want to cover this or really talk about it because it didn't seem real, and some of the things on there seemed very out of pocket. But it wasn't until eventually that we kept seeing more people saying they got it, and then we eventually got a screenshot from somebody with the actual email from Blizzard to confirm that yes, this is in fact a real survey. So let's go over what's on it and kind of talk about, I guess, my opinion and hopefully your opinion down in the comments on some of the ideas being tossed around. So the first thing on here is playable shamans for the Alliance side. That's kind of like something we're kind of hoping for. It's something we were hoping for in SOD 2. Now, if you're wondering what about Horde Paladins, it's the very last question for some reason. I don't know why they're so far apart, why the bookends, but that also is offered on this survey. I think most people who were playing SOD, at least, would be down to have the opposite faction's unique class on their side as well. What do y'all think? Next, collections. We also saw an experiment of this in SOD with a lot of the toys that were added and they were put into the key ring. For this one, it would be more like retail where we have our own UI system for these toys and mounts and whatnot. Account-wide collections. Just the same thing, that we have in retail where if one character gets it, then all your characters on your account get it. I don't see why not for this one. This one's interesting, 1v1 dual arenas. I'm interested in why it's just 1v1. If you played SOD, which I'm going to reference a lot in this video, a lot of us were just kind of hoping for some sort of arena system. I think they just go full on out and do 2s and 3s and maybe 5s like Wrath had offered as well. This right here, I think, is the first and probably one of the biggest controversial ones they put on here. New player character models. So that's just the retail model system, which, fun fact, the retail models have now been in the game longer than the classic models. We just hit that mark this year. For me, big no. Absolutely not. I'm making a video later talking about why classic players just don't want to play retail. And one of the topics on there is actually about the new graphics and models that retail has. There's just something about retail models and the graphics. It's just kind of like almost Pixar-y. Like, I know WoW is very cartoony even in classic, but something about the new models and the hairstyles and whatnot, I'm just not, for me personally, not my thing. I love the rough edges that classic offers, and just me personally, again, I think the human male models actually look a lot worse in retail than they do in classic. Let me know what y'all think about that one in the comments. In-game events. Sure. I think one thing that was big, that was really liked in SOD, was the Kanzu and Secrets quest. I think having stuff like this around the world, just non-raid endgame content, is good for the game no matter what. As long as it doesn't offer anything too big, I think, then it's just fun. Have stuff for us to do outside of raiding. Pet battles. Sure. I'm not sure if it's appropriate for Classic, but I guess I don't see the harm in it being there too. I don't know. I'm iffy on this one. Leveling professions improvements. This seems to draw big inspiration from hardcore servers, actually, because I remember leveling my hardcore characters, how big professions were, how crafting your own gear, especially if you were on self-found where you couldn't trade or anything, it was really important to pick your class's specific profession, like blacksmithing for warriors, leatherworking for rogues, tailoring for clothies, to be able to make your own gear just in case you weren't getting those drops from quests or raids. I think this would be cool. I like stuff like this because it's going to put emphasis on leveling, which if this Classic Plus version of the game is going to be a forever mode and not seasonal, which we'll talk about a little more at the end of this video, then I think focusing on leveling profession items is a very important thing to do. New class abilities and spells. Brand new class abilities and or spells unique to this version of Classic. So I think that's just like runes, right? Just without the actual rune engraving feature. I'm a big fan of this, and I feel like they're going to draw a lot of their inspiration of class balance from SOD. We also the picture of the graph of the Sims from Blackwing Lair and how almost perfect it was. A lot of SOD's praise was from class balance, and I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of classes feel similar to how they did in SOD in Classic Plus. Since we're on the topic of runes though, I really hope that they stick with this cool feature they did with runes as like class quests, but just replace the rune with the ability. If you played SOD and you were a paladin, how cool was the Divine Storm rune quest chain? I know as you progress further in the game, it gets a little annoying to get those runes, but like I said about with the last topic, if this is a forever game mode and not just a seasonal server, then I think you need to stick your feet in the ground with making leveling an important part of the game. Honor rewards redesign. This talks about making it more seasonal like we have in retail versus the one rank 14 piece of gear that Classic has. There are ups and downs to this because there are people who like that original system, and the SOD rework system is more accessible to all players. However, if this is going to be a forever game mode, then eventually that rank 14 gear is going to be obsolete. So how do you upgrade that? I think just going full retail might not be the best idea. Maybe there's that in the middle version. I don't really PvP too much, but I'm interested to see how classic PvPers who love the rank 14 grind, or I guess just love the rank 14 gear, because who really loves that grind, right? How they feel about this specific topic. Another controversy here, the WoW token. Look, is it kind of pay to win? Yes. Is it pay to win if they add GDKPs back with the WoW token? Yes. It kind of bites them in the butt a little bit too, because if they do have GDKPs, you can essentially just pay for your game time through GDKPs by buying WoW tokens like people did in Wrath and Kata. It is an easier way to counter bots than by just banning them. I'm going to be honest, they'll probably add this no matter what people say. So class talent adjustment. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. No discussion. Yes. This needs to be added, and this is a cool thing to see because this tells me that this might be on a completely different client than the classic client, which allows Blizzard to do way more than what they could do with SOD. For example, if you played SOD, Elixir of the Honey Badger, a new elixir could stack to 20, but Mongoose could only stack to 5 still. They can't adjust old items because of it being on the same client, but they can adjust new items because it's a completely separate item. So just being on a totally different client allows way more freedom, like adjusting these talents. Account-wide perks and progression system. I'm going to read this one because I don't know what that is. A system to allow you to gather points and spend them on account-wide bonuses such as quality of life and convenience, encouraging playing alts or specializing in specific activity. I think I need more examples of what that would be. Is that something in retail? I need more examples of what that is before I personally have an opinion on it. If y'all know what that means, if that's in retail and you know what that is, leave a comment so I can be a little more educated on that. Playable high elves. Sure. Would they have the Blood Elf model? Because I'd be down to play an Alliance High Elf, right? I don't think I'd think twice about that. What would their racial be? Would it just be the Blood Elf racial or something completely new? That's interesting. That has my interest because we don't have High Elves in any version of the game. Revisiting known but unexplored zones. Yes, yes, yes. The examples on here are Mount Hyjal, Oldham, Gilneas. Yes, yes, yes. We thought we would get some of this in SOD. We got a little bit of it with New Avalon and the Scarlet Enclave, and Ashbringers got to see Mount Hyjal in SOD, but just yes. The Furbolg grade, all that stuff, I'm down. This is what Classic Plus should be. Give us new zones. Not just end game zones either, new leveling zones. Give us new leveling zones along with this. Yes, 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 yes. Move on. Player housing. That's cool. I think we're getting that in the next retail expansion, Midnight. I don't know how cool this is yet because I have not played retail in a bit. Might be badass. Maybe it might be straying too far from Classic. Again, I'm going to say this a lot in this video. It's a forever game mode, so maybe stuff like this needs to be in Classic Plus. Achievements. Sure, I think achievements are cool. They're fun. They can give you mounts and stuff like that. I don't think that's too bad. We got that in Wrath, and Wrath achievements were cool. I am not opposed to this one. This one might be controversial. Cross-realm play. Ability to group with friends from other realms for dungeons, battlegrounds, and other instance activities. This is one I'm not too sure about. Just because, I don't know, maybe it's the boomer in me. I'm 31 years old, right? I like your realm being your realm and like having your community in your realm. Even if you're on like a mega server, like when you are playing with somebody, you know who that person is. But on the other hand too, especially with the faction balance system that they're keeping, that's staying in, by the way, the faction lock 50-50 for servers. Sometimes you might get locked out of playing with your friends if you want to play Alliance on one server and that faction lock locks in. So this is a good counter to that, to be able to, I'm assuming raid too. It doesn't say raid, but it says other instance activities. So I'm assuming that means raid, right? So I'm back and forth on it. Honor system redesign. These are kind of weird that these aren't in like order, like PvP section and stuff like that. Because I figured this would be with the PvP gear topic too, right? Totally redesign the honor system. I'm not so sure on this because I feel like the honor system we have now, where you don't get rot, and D rank and stuff like that, I feel like that's okay. It's not super easy, but it's not super hard to grind up your ranks. I don't know. It depends on what they do with the gear too, right? Do they have this already in mind and they're just seeing what we think? I don't know. War mode. I don't know. Like, here's the thing, guys. Why do we play on PvP servers if you don't want to PvP, because the best players end up playing on there, right? It's a whole weird thing that we've just created for no reason. It's a system that'd be added to stop the people that hurt themselves by joining PvP servers. I feel like the answer is just don't play on a PvP server if you don't want to PvP, but maybe it's just a problem that's just so infested in Classic that you just put on War mode. Brand new zones. Yes, 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 yes. And not just endgame zones, leveling zones. Give me a new level 30 zone. Give me a new level 20 zone. Give me new zones. I don't have to go to Deathless. I don't want to go to Deathless. Unless you revamp the quest in Deathless, then maybe I'll want to go there. I don't want to go to Stone Town Mountain. I made a whole video about it. I hate that place. Give me a new place to go to instead. Yes, yes, 100% yes. 20 player raids and 40 player raids. Is this a yes or no option? Is this we're adding more? Or is this a do you want 20 or do you want 40? Even though it seems like this is real and we have confirmation, part of me just still has that skepticism. Like, is this a real thing? Because this is a weird thing to ask. I think 40-man raids are obsolete. I think your best compromise is 30, and Scarlet Enclave was good proof of that because a lot of people were able to get 30-man raids. Like, I run a 30-man raid in Scarlet Enclave now. 20-man raids, I think, are the best. I like 30-man raids. It's just me personally going off a rant here, because if the main content's 30 mans and then the smaller content's 15 mans, then you can split your raid up evenly and it still looks good on your group frames when you have 3 groups of 5. That's just me, but apparently according to the survey, that's not an option. I would lean more towards 20 just because as a raid leader, 20 mans are hard enough. 40 mans, I don't know how I'd live. But I know there are Classic purists who just love 40-man raids, and they are cool, right? When you have 40 people together, it's way more social. It's just harder to manage. I really want to know what y'all's thoughts are on 20-man raids versus 40-man raids. Graphical improvements to lighting, shadows, and surface reflections. Maybe, again, I just don't want retail looking graphics. And I'm going to skip ahead this one right here. Graphical texture improvements and resolution upgrades. Again, I just don't like how retail graphics look. And this is Jerdy. I'm not speaking on behalf of everybody else in Classic. I do not like retail graphics. There is something about them I am just not a fan about. And again, this is going to be on a future video when I talk about why Classic players don't like retail. Not all Classic players, some, right? It's just not me. I love the Classic polygons. I love the roughness around it. I'm not a big fan of how retail graphics look to a certain extent. Now, if it looks like Elden Ring or Demon Souls for PS5, different story. I love that. But if it looks just like retail, nah. New trade skills, new primary and secondary professions. Yes. Give me woodcutting. Give me woodcutting from RuneScape. I'd love that. Yes. I don't want to go on. Yes. New battleground. Just one new battleground? Again, is this a real survey? Add an S in there and I'm all for it. If it's just one, I guess, but yes, add more new battlegrounds, plural. Give me more battlegrounds. New race and class combinations, including those never before seen in Warcraft. If you can make it work with the lore, and I know a lot of people don't care about lore anymore, but I do. If you can make it work with the lore, sure. Like it looked like they were hinting towards undead paladins and Sod with Gregory being a part of a horde quest. But if you do it that way, I'm down. But if it's just like, hey, you can do this, I'm like, okay, not cool. New class, not new classes. Again, even though I said the survey is real, I'm a little skeptical on some of these, the way things are worded here. Character classes that are completely new to any version of World of Warcraft. So not Death Knights, Monks, Demon Hunters, or Evokers. Completely new classes. Tinkers, Bards, Gladiators. I'm down if it's cool. 10 player raids. Again, what's up with the organization of this? This is kind of, do I change my title? I'm still skeptical because why are all these so organized so weirdly? New 10 player focused raid dungeons. I think 10 mans are cool. I think the more variety you have, it's awesome. I just think the variety is cool. Yes, I'm down. Sorry, my cat's getting crazy. Yes, I'm down for this. Transmogs. It's a hard no for me. And I know some people like transmogs, but there's a lot of reasons why I don't. I think my reasonings are similar to everybody else who doesn't like it. One, I just like seeing the gear that we're in the phase we're in, when we're all unified. Or you can see someone's like, hey, they're catching up because they just started the game, so they're in like Molten Core gear, or someone is on the current gear because they're in like Scarlet Enclave gear, or they're in Nax gear, or they're in Mount Hyjal gear. We're in that phase, so we're wearing that gear. This person's up to date, or that they're catching up. The change on this that's not open world PvP or battlegrounds, I guess I know why they're focusing on just that, so people can't hide the gear they're wearing. I'm just not for it at all. I don't like when I'm trying to defeat a really cool boss and someone next to me is in a bunny outfit Or they're transmogged as a farmer. I'm not fighting with a farmer trying to kill Kel'Thuzad. I want to kill Kel'Thuzad with an army of Alliance or Horde members here. And I'm not trying to insult any developers here. I think when you add transmog, it allows the gear that comes up later to not have to look as good because you can just transmog into the gear you liked before. Again, that's not an insult. I'm not trying to insult anybody. I am just not for it for those reasons. Cross-realm guilds. I'm iffy on this one because I like server communities. Maybe it's just the dinosaur in me, the 31-year-old in me that's a fan of that. Like even on the server discords, even if your server discord owner is an idiot, it's just, I don't know. Just think about server drama, like just all that stuff. Even though it's silly, it's unique to Classic that you don't see in retail because servers don't really matter in retail, right? I'm sure that's a 50-50 one too. If it were me, maybe right now I'm just saying no. Maybe I don't think that's one that's hard to convince me, but I'm just one random guy, right? I'm not the Classic guru or anything here. It's just my take. Maybe it's a dinosaur take. If I'm a dinosaur here, let me know in the comments. So yeah, that's it. There's a lot of interesting things on here. Things I would never thought would be talked about in a Classic Plus or just Classic setting like Warmode, Transmog, retail graphics. If there's one thing I absolutely don't want that I don't think you'll ever be able to convince me to want is retail graphics and player models. I don't want that. I'm just going to say that right now. I don't want that. Don't put that in. That's just me, Dirty. If you disagree with me, whatever. I don't want that in there. But I'm a big fan of the new Battleground, even though it should have an S on there. New Battlegrounds, giving us those new zones that are hopefully not just endgame, but leveling zones too. New dungeons, new content, and using those old world places that weren't used before. I mean, Agron even mentioned that for SOD, right? And I'm sure there was stuff they wanted to touch in SOD that they didn't get to. So now in this Classic Plus setting, that's what we're just kind of wanting to begin with. I think everybody who wants to play Classic Plus is expecting new raids, new zones, at least. That's the minimum of what Classic Plus is. Just those two things, and then add in all this stuff as well. One topic I was hoping they would mention but did not mention in the survey was raid difficulty. For those of y'all who played SOD, Scarlet Enclave was a very challenging raid, especially for the SOD player base. And although some bosses were definitely overtuned like Beatrix, a lot of players welcomed some actual progression in the Classic setting. I know my guild did. We loved it. Even though we were banging our heads against the wall on Beatrix for a while, Reborn Council, it felt really good when we finally killed that boss. I would imagine it's potentially a near split thought process on those who like it and those who don't. And just me personally, I think just making it like Ulduar with their hard modes and having that normal versus hard mode difficulty is the best option for all players in the future. I really want to know what y'all's thoughts are on this. A lot of people have already made videos on this. I held off because I didn't know the validity of this, but it does seem to be real. And I'm very interested to know the thoughts of the people who did not get this survey. Even though I titled this as it's actually real, if it's not, I will change the title. I just have gotten confirmation from people I trust that this is a real email that was sent out. And it's kind of clickbaity and I'm just gotta play the game for YouTube, right? Sorry. But genuinely, I want to know what you guys think. I want this to be a watched video just because I want to know what the Classic community's thoughts are on this. And remember, the Classic community is not just Anniversary. It's Anniversary, it's SOD, it's Era, it's Mist of Pandaria. I want to know what everybody's thoughts are on these ideas that were on this survey. Leave a comment down below, share with your friends, tell them to comment so I can just start gathering information and data on what the people think who did not get this survey. As always, thanks for stopping by. Thanks for saying hi. Follow me on twitch.tv/TrudyJD. Follow me on Twitter. You can see my @ right here. It's my @ for pretty much everything. I'm not streaming too much. I'm focusing more on recorded content versus my streaming content with SOD dying down. I'm excited for Classic Plus, even though it probably won't happen until like the end of next year. I'm rambling now, so I will just see y'all in the next video.